The meeting is being recorded and the videos are available on the Commissioner's Mastodon page and on YouTube page. At last, you see the agenda in front of us. We voted to engage CETA to support the work of the commission. As we will hear shortly, the CETA team has been hard at work since October. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the CETA team. Emily, would like to speak first?
Thanks, Matt. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily Lauer. I'm the director of the group we called CEDAR. So that stands for the Center for Developmental Disabilities Evaluation and Research. And CEDAR is the acronym. We're here at UMass Chan Medical School, and we're thrilled to be a partner to support this special commission. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jen Fugelstad. I work with Emily at CEDAR, and I am happy to be working with the commission to support you in your work.
Hi, I'm Christine Clifford. I am also part of the CEDAR team, and I am here to help take some notes today.
Thank you for that introduction. Next, we have approval of meeting minutes for the October 23rd, October 20th, 2023 meeting. Draft copies were sent out, and hopefully everyone had a chance to read those. Do any members have suggestions change to the minutes at this time? If not, can we proceed with a vote? You have a motion to approve the minutes for October 20th meeting.
This is Rania Kelly making a motion to accept the meeting minutes from October 20th, 2023.
Andrew Leveralt, I'll second that.
Thank you. Now I'll do a roll call. Say approve or not approve. Elise is here.
Hey, Matt, it's Anne and Brenda. Elise is just getting back from a visit, so she'll be here momentarily.
Okay. Is she coming like a minute? Actually, I'll circle back to her then, if that okay. If I can.
That would be great. We appreciate that.
Kate Besson.
Yes.
Thank you. Reggie Clark. Air Freight.
Here.
Approve, yes.
Yes.
Alice Reed.
Yes.
Rita Kelly.
Yes.
Andrew Levitt.
Yes. Yes.
Mary Macaulay.
Yes.
Vassar Moore.
Yes.
Brenda Rakin.
You approve the minute?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Connor Snow.
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Louise White. Everyone not here. I've approved the minutes. Is Elise here yet?
She's not. I thought it would be quicker than the 2 minutes I anticipated, Matt. I'm sorry. She is on her way.
No worries. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So,
Okay.
thank you, everyone. I didn't miss anyone, did I? So the minutes are approved. As a reminder, copies of the approved minutes and all the materials from the commission meetings are available through our commission's webpage. Now I like to invite Emily back to CETA to share some updates with the group.
Thanks very much, Matt. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Sorry, having a technical difficulty.
And so one update for you is that we have set up an email address that we will be using to communicate. We at CEDAR will be using to communicate with you all as commission members. This email address is here. You will also receive it via email. That email goes to our full team. So if you want to reach out to us, I see that email, Jen sees that email, our project manager, Christine, sees that email, and any one of us can receive your message and respond back to you. So if you want to reach out to our team, this is the best email to use because we will all be able to see it. Next slide, please. Thank you. And next slide. All right. We have a few things we'd like to talk with you about at the start of this meeting. The first are a couple of updates. So as we had discussed with you all at a prior meeting, we are able to make an agreement, which is called an interagency service agreement, that allows us to get paid for the work that we do, because UMass Chan is a state agency and the funding for this project is being routed through the Department of Developmental Services, also a state agency. It's a contracting mechanism that just makes it easier for us to have an agreement and to get paid. So we have drafted the scope of work based on what you all had put together. That is in the process of being added to our current agency agreement with DDS and will allow us to provide these services. The other update I wanted to give you is that it is our understanding that the funding for the commission is available until June 30th of 2024. The work that the commission is planned to do goes well beyond that for about another year. What our understanding is that it will be necessary to request any unused funds to be carried into the next fiscal year for us to use them. So we do not anticipate, we don't plan to use all the funds between now and June. We plan to use the funds to support you over the period until which your first report is due. So we will need support probably of the legislators to carry that money into the next fiscal year in order to continue to be working with you all. There are ways to do this, and we're just sharing this information with you all now so that we can make a plan to talk to our legislative partners, and you as commission members can talk to them about how important it is that you're able to access the funds for the commission in the next fiscal year as well. I wanted to see if there's any questions about those two items. Alex.
Thank you so much. This is Alex Green speaking. Just for clarification, is it correct that is it the, sorry, my screen is doing weird things. Is the Ways and Means is the committee that approves the funding for us, like that's where the budgeting goes, that would allow us to advocate for this or let them know about this?
I believe so, but we will make that confirmation and get that information back to you once we make sure that's the right group.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions?
And I apologize, I can't recall offhand right now. So does the commission have a separate line item for its funding, or is it tied into a DDS line item?
Sorry, Emily, can I say something? Andrew, can you introduce yourself? Sorry.
Sorry, Andrew Leverall, DPPC. Thank you, Matt.
My understanding is that it is a separate line that needed to be moved to an agency to facilitate the payment. So I believe it was moved, was in the process of being moved to DDS so that DDS could make payments on behalf of the special commission. I would invite Victor Hernandez or Gabe Cohen, if you have any additional information you'd like to share about that at this time, to please go ahead and do so. Victor, you are on mute.
Yeah, after all these years. Good afternoon, everybody. Emily is correct. The money now sits with DDS. And, we've developed what Emily's referred to as the ISA, so that Cedar can do the work and get paid for it. And the sponsor legislator knows of the need for the leftover funding to roll over into next fiscal year. So it's on everybody's table and it's being worked on.
Sounds good. We just need the prior appropriation continued language in the line item and we should be all set.
Let's hope. Will usually, when it comes to budget items, I usually stay away from the term all set.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yes.
let's hope so.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you, Victor. The next item that we wanted to review with you all is the idea of a YouTube channel for this special commission. My understanding is that this is a topic that you all as commission members have discussed previously. And there has been some discussion of maybe a commission member setting this up. I wanted to offer as part of our support going forward, we could set up a YouTube channel for you as the commission where you can post videos of your meetings. Right now, I believe they're being posted on a different channel. So I want to pose this question for open discussion about whether you would like us to support you in that manner. Kate?
Hi, this is Kate Benson. Initially, I had volunteered to do that. I've been sick for a few months, so I need to take that off of my plate just so everybody knows.
Thank you, Kate.
This is Matt Millett again. I would be okay with Cedar taking over the YouTube channel for us.
Okay, thank you. I will go to our next meeting agenda in 1 minute. I believe, Matt, we may have had some commission members join. And I just wanted to see if you wanted to take a moment to acknowledge or introduce them, or you want me to move forward.
Hi, this is Matt Millett again. Reggie and Elise, can you both hear me?
It appears that, well, Reggie may be on mute.
Reggie's here though, right? I see him as a panelist.
Yes.
Yes, he's here.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure. Elise, are you here too now?
I'm sorry, say again?
Elise, is Elise here now? Elise Aurora?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm here.
here she is.
Oh, great. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
We can move on now, Emily. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, I saw you had your hand raised. Did you still want to make a comment? Okay, go ahead, please.
Am I muted?
No.
You can hear me. Okay, thank you. I'm Mary Mahan McCauley, and I was just curious to know, I believe Gabe had spoken to my communications manager, Lilia Malikshi, and she was going to download the information from these meetings onto the YouTube channel. So should I ask her to cease in that regard, to stop doing it as of the end of this meeting today or as of the next?
Let us connect with you, Mary. We want to make sure we always have a live channel for the
Okay.
videos to exist. So
Okay,
as soon as we get ours up and running and tested, and we're ready to receive those videos, we will let you know, and then you can cease that work.
oh, okay. Will you be putting it on the Commonwealth of Massachusetts YouTube channel?
No, I believe the commission would prefer to have its own YouTube channel, but the videos will be connected to the site for the special commission.
So it won't be under the structure or the auspices of Commonwealth of Mass? YouTube?
I don't think it will be, that
Oh.
was not what we discussed, but I'm open to input on that from any of the commission members.
Okay, I am not exactly sure how YouTube works, so I was just curious. Thank you.
The next item we have on the list is a presentation template. So my understanding is that prior meetings have used a standard template from the Commonwealth. And the template we're using here is from our center here at Cedar. We wanted to ask the commission members whether they would like us to draft a template for the special commission to use that is their own and distinct from the state's template that has been used previously. Are there any comments related to that question?
This is Mary Mahan McCauley again. I guess I would be interested in knowing what the changes would be and how it would be shifted around before I would just say yes openly.
Okay. We could come back to the commission with a proposal of what that might look like.
Yeah,
I think how we might shape it.
Yeah, that's my personal thought anyway. I'm not sure what other commissioners think.
Any other comments on that idea?
I think this is Rania Kelly. I think I agree. I need more clarification. For example, what does the current template that you are using look like? And like Mary mentioned, so it's hard to make a decision based on not knowing what we're deciding on. Thank you, Mary.
We'll come back to you with more information. Essentially, it would be a template that is specific to the special commission. So it would have the name of the commission on it. It would not just be a state template that's used, but we will show you some more options in a future meeting on that.
And just one more comment. This is Rania Kelly. There will be screen reader accessible and have.
Yes, absolutely. That's a requirement for any presentation that we put forward. And we'll continue with transcription of this and captioning of the videos and all of those sorts of things.
Thank you.
The next topic we wanted to raise with you was an idea to form some working groups to help the commission with the work that you're doing. So there's 5 areas of work related to records of people who used to live in institutions, burial sites, a memorial. Each of these has a lot of detail behind it, as we'll discuss when we share our updates. We had an idea to form some informal working groups where some of the commission members can choose to focus on some of these topics and work more closely with Cedar. These would not be formal subcommittees of the commission, such that they would need to hold open meetings or things of that nature, but they would be small working groups that would help us review some of the information we're finding and help make recommendations back to the commission on these specific sets of work. So we have envisioned potentially 3 working groups, one focused on the records, access to them, their storage, another focused on cemeteries and burial sites and the information related to those, and a third focused on remembrance or memorials. And so we would like to get your input as a commission as to whether you would like to proceed with forming informal working groups on these topics. Are there any comments?
This is Kate Benson. I think that that's a fantastic idea. I'm very interested in being part of those working groups. And I think keeping them informal in order to go through the information already gathered is a good next step.
Thank you, Kate. Any other comments?
Hi, this is Matt Willett. I agree, the working groups sounds like a good idea.
So to form these informal working groups, we do have one rule that we can't have more than a quorum. So we can't have more than 9 commission members as part of these working groups. We will send out information to each of you via email from our support email and ask you to let us know if you would like to be a part of one or more of these working groups. If we get more than 9 members who are interested, we will work with Matt and Evelyn to make sure we have a fair process for participation. But we will use email to permit you to sign up for these working groups. Which brings me to our next topic, which is a meeting schedule. Because you all seem to feel like, or many of you feel that the working groups are a good process, we thought about using those to meet more frequently on the 3 topics, and then having the working groups coming back to report to the commission at regular meetings. That would allow the commission to meet perhaps every 2 months or so to permit time in between for the working groups to work with us and make progress. And then the commission would be able to hear everything the working groups are doing. Any decisions would come back to you. And so we wanted to propose a meeting schedule of something like every 2 months and see if people had comments on that.
This is Mary Mahan Macaulay. I think that sounds like a good cadence. Every 2 months.
Okay, thank you. Alex, did I see you raise your hand?
Yeah, this is Alex Green. I agree with what Mary said. There's that thumbs up again. But I do agree. Every 2 months sounds terrific. That'd be good. And if it needs to then change based on how things are going, just I think letting us know, and we'll adapt as needed.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we will coordinate the scheduling of those meetings with you all via email. We have received some information that you have shared previously about schedules. We'll refresh that with you and try to come up with dates and times that allow the most commission members to participate. So we will be in touch about meeting scheduling. Thank you for your input on these topics. This is a really helpful set of next steps to allow us to move forward with our work. So I appreciate your input on these topics. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Matt to handle the next set of the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. This is Matt Willett again. So do this PowerPoint screen, please. There's an article published in Boston Globe on January 10th that was talking about the Ferdinand State School and medical records of former residents there that are still in the buildings. A copy of the article was emailed to the members on Tuesday. Hopefully everyone had a chance to read it. We want to share the article with the commission and see what people's thoughts were. I know Reggie was actually quoting the article. Reggie, if we want to talk about this, you want me the first to say something since you were quoting in the article?
Well, the article was very good, I would say. I would say the article is very good. Just talked about people having records that belong to people that were there and everything, and talked about how messy they were and how the state didn't take care of them. also looking into building something there at the institution so people can recognize who was there, who lived there back then. Some type of memorial.
Hmm.
This is Matt Millett. Do we have that slide that tells what we could say, if I remember correctly? So this has some ideas that we thought of, me, Emily, a couple other people. Letters to responsible, letter required to look through the facts or do nothing publicly. Now, it's a fact that Boston Globe article was not written by, I believe, a Boston Globe writer. It was an add-on, if I said that correctly. It was someone. So, does anyone want to respond if we should respond to the Globe, or do nothing publicly, or settle it inquiry to look inquiry? I can't say that word. Sorry, into the facts.
Hi, this is Mary Mahan McCauley again. I'm sorry, I hear some whistling in the background. I don't know what that is, but I couldn't hear you quite clearly. If you could say what you just said again, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
This is Matt Lillian. So we thought of 3 options of what we could do to respond to the Globe article.
Right.
One response would be send a letter to the Globe, a response to the letter. The second one would be letter inquiry. I can't say inquiry. Into the facts. The third option, we do nothing publicly. We saw the article. It's horrible. It's sad. But so that kind of 3 options. We also the more options
Right,
of that,
right.
but the 3 we thought of.
I guess this is Mary Mahan McCauley again. The article was, it was extremely sad. It was disgusting that, you know, to see the factual information of how PII or personal identifying information was strewn around the place, and just totally the papers and personal information of people was completely disrespected. And it just gave me a, you know, stronger reason to thank all of you that were really involved with getting this commission up and running, because obviously it's very important that we are doing this so that the past never repeats itself. I shared it with my agency, the Globe article, and made some comments. I'm not sure as far as replying back to the Globe, unless, you know, I believe there has been articles in the past making note of this particular commission and what we are doing and why we are doing it. So if there hasn't been something like that in the Globe, you know, it might be nice for it to be either printed again or kind of a follow-up to the article in stating what we are doing now, which is, you know, looking at things and trying to, you can't right the wrongs, you can't make them correct, that they're the wrongs, you know, there was a lot of bad things that happened, but at least we can look at things and try to straighten them out going forward. And as we've said here before, you know, give dignity and respect to the individuals that were injured, hurt, or died within any of the institutions, including in Waltham.
Thank you, Mary. This is Matt Millett. I think Alex, I think I see your hands raised up. So,
Hi, this is Alex Green. Mary, I agree with you. I thank you for your comments, and I've thought a lot about this, and obviously been involved, especially with the Fernald and Met State for some time. I have some thoughts I can share. But I did think, first of all, just Reggie, thank you for I think putting your name in print is a brave thing, and saying the things that you said is a brave thing, and it's a big deal to see that. So I know a lot of people have expressed their gratitude about your remarks in there. I I have been in the interest of transparency, I've been contacted by a Globe reporter because I've worked so much on these things. And my feeling has always been that I knew that from time to time things like this may occur because I know about some of these issues, but that it's not my place as an individual member of the commission to represent in any way what the commission as a whole body is doing. And I didn't intend to do that, and I don't intend to do that. So I think that if comments go out to the media, those things should go through the chairs, and they should go through a meeting of this entire group, and they should be something that everybody agrees on. Or else we should not be representing ourselves as speaking on behalf of the commission. Those are my thoughts. I think these are intensely, potentially issues that can be politicized in ways where that's maybe not good for the commission. And if those of us choose individually to be involved in those things, that's a very separate sort of thing. So I'm more hesitant about the idea of any kind of letter of response to the Globe. Because I don't know, we didn't do this. We are looking into this, but this is not something that we did. And I think that there are clearly accountable parties that need to be held accountable, but they're not us, and our work is already sort of looking into some of this. I think the letter of inquiry to look into the facts is closer to our mandate, which is I do think we simply need to know what happened. Because some of what we're looking at is how do people access records, and what are the barriers to them accessing those records. And obviously, this would seem to have presented a significant barrier for people to access those records. And so I don't think that a single article in the Boston Globe is enough to go on for the quality of verifiable information that the kind of report we want to have at the end should have. And at the same time, I'm not sure who we ask or what a letter of inquiry to look into the facts would actually look like. And that's where, for the millionth time today, I feel very grateful that we have CEDAR on board for this. But I would love to know what those of you who have experience on the commission would think about that, whether that is a good idea or a bad idea, and where you would think we should be asking to look into this. And similarly with Emily, and just to be specific, I think that what the article outlined to me, and certainly are things that have been known in the community for some time, is that yes, DDS is a stakeholder where this is an issue that goes to them, but it also appears to go to a large number of groups. And this is a city-owned property, and it was left open by a city. And that's part of, I think, what I would like for us to know and have in our report, if it seems germane at the end. So, sorry to talk so much, but that's kind of my 2 cents on it all.
Hey, I see you here, raises Matt Willett. You mind if I ask Richard to speak for a second about what DDS did as an article?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Richard.
Sure.
You.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I just maybe kind of go back a little bit. Before the article even appeared, DDS was contacted by the author. He contacted the commissioner about the condition of the campus and the documents that he said were located around the property. We immediately contacted City of Waltham, who, as Alex said, owns the property, to allay those concerns from that family member. And we also offered to take custody of any documents that were located on the grounds. We then followed up regarding the concerns about the potential for any documents on site. We sent some people a lot of places were locked up, but we did see some papers, and we collected them there. It was difficult at the time to get in, but what we saw, we did collect, and it wasn't much at the time. Then we were in contact with the City of Waltham. We made plans to meet at the campus there at Fernald to assess the situation. And about that time, that was a little bit before, that was about the time when the Globe article appeared online before the print. We have met with the City of Waltham, and assess the situation. We've located documents, we're able to get into buildings. We've done the efforts to retrieve and secure those documents, and the key words there are retrieve and secure. We can collect them, but the question is, what do we do with them? We are keeping them in storage at a separate site. And we'd be happy to provide the commission with more information about this once we have all the documents and they've been secured, and also to the extent possible reviewed, because you have to go through them with our privacy staff, our privacy lawyers, to determine, if we can, what we do with them. Are they personal items, or are they documents that can be shredded? Those are the things that only a privacy lawyer can really assess. So we're in the process of doing that, actually. Though when we visited the campus a couple of weeks ago, a privacy lawyer was there and went through what buildings we could at the time. And once this is all done, this project, and we're all said and done, documents collected, reviewed, cataloged, we'd be happy to provide an update to the commission to let them know essentially what we have done and what we found and what we've taken since then. So, it's provided that information, and let's really want to move forward with this. Like Mary said, can't undo anything. It was done. We heard some of the comments, and we really want to, as Mary said, this just shows the importance of this commission.
Yeah.
And it shows the importance, and even though there's the priorities aren't in any, the charge is not in any sense of priorities. I don't think it was a mistake that priority one was the records.
Yeah.
It's very important. So, this is a way to look forward and to provide, again, some guidance in terms of what do we do in the future. So that's really all I can say at this time about this. We're still working on this.
Thank you, Richard. This is Matt Blatt. Kate, you'd like to speak or say something? Sorry.
Sure. Hi, this is Kate Benson. I just wanted to echo what Alex had said. I think as individuals, we have all kind of shared and commented on the Globe article to the extent that we all have our resources and our networks. I think as a commission responding to that Globe article, the only thing that I could say would be a positive is that a lot of these articles happen. There was a list of them on the previous slide. A lot of these articles do come out, and then there isn't much comment from certain types of groups. And now that we do exist, maybe it would be interesting to respond. But I don't think, to Alex's point, that it really upholds the mission of what we're trying to do right now. And I too would like to know what a letter of inquiry could look like, who it could go to, what we would want to achieve with that letter of inquiry, knowing that DDS is already trying to step out in front of some of this. Where else would we be going on that path, and what would it look like? But I think at this point, the article has done what we hoped it would do. And hopefully the traction will just keep on moving without us having to wade into that potentially political quagmire.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Emily, you'd like to say something?
Thank you, Matt. There's been some question from commission members about what a letter of inquiry might do, and I wanted to just provide some more information about why you might want or not want to have that option. A letter of inquiry could be used to gather more information, and it can also be used to put pressure on groups to act. In this situation, and thank you, Victor, for the update, you're hearing that DDS is already acting even before the article came out. So I think that's something to consider. There are other groups involved. There's the City of Waltham, there's the state agency DCAM, which is responsible for state properties, all have had a role here. You can use a letter of inquiry kind of going forward to say something like, this situation exists, what are your plans to do something about it? And what are the storage procedures, and to try to obtain some more information for your work. You can also use a letter of inquiry to ask about what happened and why it happened. And so if you are looking to go backwards and try to understand, was there a gap in the process of closing down an institution so that it isn't repeated in the future? You can use a letter to try to understand more about that. A letter of inquiry doesn't mean you're going to get a response necessarily, or that that response will be fully satisfying to you or have all the things you're looking for in it. But it's an effort, a formal effort to try to get some more information. So I wanted to share those two possibilities. There's others, of course, but those are two examples of how you could consider using a letter of inquiry. And those letters can go to one party. It could go to multiple parties. So if you wanted to target a letter of inquiry to many groups involved, it doesn't have to just be to one group like DDS or DCAM or the City of Waltham. It can be directed at all of those, or a different point like the governor. So thank you, Matt, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Emily. It's Matt Millett again. If so, we want to propose a working group to draft the content for this meeting, or just want to realize that role with how horrible article and leave it at that, and just try to work on our commission. If I have any suggestions, like anyone want to propose a working group, or?
This is Alex Green. I would propose a working group for a letter of inquiry to look into the facts. I would not for the Globe end. So I don't know if there's agreement on that, but I would, if you need me to make a motion for that, I could make a motion for that. And I agree with Emily's characterization of that it's, to me, I guess, most important to just know what happened. You know, these places close down, and I don't think any of us has a really good sense of what happens when they close down. And I'm very grateful to Victor for the transparency and forthrightness and getting out in front of this. And yeah, it would be, we may meet with the exact same transparency from some of the other agencies and folks along the way, and just knowing will help, I think, us understand the landscape of what we're tasked with looking into. So if that's useful, I'll make a motion to propose that we create a working group to draft content for a letter of inquiry to look into the facts related to what was revealed in the Boston Globe article.
Thank you, Alex. This is Matt Millett. You have a second motion to motion that?
This is Kate Benson. I second it.
Thank you, Kate. So I'll do a roll call now to for the motion. Elise? Is Elise still here?
Yep, sorry, just had to unmute. They're
Sorry about that.
voting for a group to draft a letter of inquiry, yes or no? Are you voting yes or no? No. No.
No.
Okay.
Hi, thank you, Elise. Kate?
Yes.
Thank you. Reggie? Reggie, yeah, unmute yourself, sorry. Reggie, you're still muted. We can't hear you right now, Reggie. Reggie, can someone help you unmute yourself so we can hear you?
Reggie, it's *6 to unmute on a phone, just
Thank
to
you.
let you know.
Thank you.
Maybe Reggie can nod yes or no so he can answer since we can see him.
Oh, sorry.
So Reggie, you approve the motion? If yes, nod,
He might not be hearing us.
yes. Not sure what to do.
Someone admin privileges should, whoever the host of the meeting is, should be able to unmute him as the admin. Gabe, is that in your court or?
This is Jen from Cedar. I've been pinging Reggie to ask to unmute. That's the limit of my ability. I'm not able to manually unmute him. Unfortunately, I wish I could do that.
Got it. Sorry about that.
Perhaps we could come back and see if we could get Reggie's vote by the end of the voting.
Sure, thank you. Ann, yes or no, the motion?
Yes.
No. Ms. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Andrew?
Present.
Thank you. Mary?
Yes.
Vesper?
Yes.
Thank you. Brenda's not here, I believe. Connor?
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Louise is not here also. Evelyn is not here also. I'm a yes. Where's Reggie? Can you unmute yourself? We can't hear you, Reggie. It's Matt Willett talking, so you're still muted.
And Matt, Brenda is here too. I just wanted to add.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. We're right here. So do you want a yes or a no?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you
Thank you,
hear
Brenda.
that?
Yeah, we
Thank
heard
you.
that. Sorry about that.
You're fine. Thank you.
Matt, this is Alex Green. I know I made the motion, but I didn't make a vote, so I'll vote yes on that.
Oh, but I sit right over you, Alice. I'm sorry.
Quite all right. Quite all right.
So I believe the motion passed.
Okay, you can talk now.
Hello, I
Thank-
would vote for the letter, but I would also say that the most important thing is to find out what records are good and which ones can go back to the people that we serve. Because people are gonna ask for that.
Thank you,
I
Reggie.
would have a motion for that, and I know some other people that were in institutions, but I'll tell you guys later.
Thank you, Reggie. So. I believe myself is Matt Millett. I believe motion passed if I get my numbers correct. So thank you for that. If you want me in the working group, email the SCSI support at UMass it will help you get on the group. So thank you. Now I'd like to go to the plans and goals of the commission. I'd like to invite Emily back to plan a session with the group.
Thanks so much, Matt. This is Emily Lauer again. And as follow-up to your recent vote, we will communicate with you via email to allow you to just reply and indicate whether you want to be a part of the working group to form a draft of the letter of inquiry. So as we had proposed earlier, we have made some groups of your goals. The first group is on existing records and the process to request them. Goals 3 and 4 relate to the burial locations, and 5 is about what it was called the framework for public recognition, which might be a memorial or an event. What I'd like to do today is to share with you some information about what Cedar has found to date. We've been very busy digging through news articles and records and things that we have been able to find and gather. So we want to share some high-level details with you. We may not get through all those details today, but whatever we don't get through, we will pick up next time. And I will add that for those of you who will join the working groups, we're going to get into a lot more details about these things when we talk together. So this is just a preview to help share at a very high level what we're seeing. Next slide, please. Thank you. So before I even get into the goals, our research to date has shown us that we need to become very specific about what we mean by institution. And the reason for that, I'll show you an example of the language that's been used over time to refer to different types of settings, which could be considered an institution. So there's some we know about. I'll take Fernald as a good example, that were labeled as institutions. They're more recent. We probably have a better chance of understanding burial locations and records related to them. But there's a whole array of others, a lot of groups, a lot of different types. And as a commission, we're going to advise that at some point we need to decide how you're defining what's in of what you're looking at and what's not in that group. And it's not as clear cut as it may sound just by using the term institution. So we're going to share more information about this with some of your working groups. We will come back with a recommendation from those working groups, but I want to give you a little preview of the types of things we're talking about. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So over time, these institutional settings were called different things. Between 1830 and 1930, there were many different sites made. Sometimes they were called schools or farms. They might have been called things like almshouses or sanatoria or used institutions. And they were created for different groups of people at the time. Some of them were for people with developmental disabilities. Some of them were for youth that were involved with law enforcement. Some of them were involved for people who were considered to be poor and didn't have the means to support themselves. And some were for particular conditions like tuberculosis or leprosy or other things or other types of disabilities. So all of these things could potentially be considered institutions. They all look different. The buildings and the structures are different. Sometimes it's one house, sometimes it's a school, sometimes it's a campus. What happened to them differs, where the records are may differ. And so this is the type of sets of groups that we're going to need to work with you on to figure out, do we, for example, include almshouses, or do we just focus on psychiatric hospitals and bigger institutions that were more recent? So we will share more information with you about this, but I wanted to share this amount of information with you as one of our first questions for you all to think about. Are there any comments or questions on this?
I have a question. I'm sorry, should I raise my hand? I didn't raise my hand.
Go ahead, Mary.
Okay, this is Mary Mahan Macaulay. I had thought, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm incorrect. Let me just tell all the other commission members I'm fine with that if I'm saying something that's not correct. But I had thought that we were specifically looking at institutions that were for individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities, as well as mental health issues, which would mean that we would immediately take out the TB hospitals and a few of the others that you mentioned. So I thought that within the information of the formation of the commission, it was specific to IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities, which I think at this point in time, we know would include like autism spectrum disorders, as well as any mental illness, mental health which I'm not sure if even though maybe a lot of the juveniles had mental health issues, I think it may have been more of a corrections institution and not looked at as a mental health institution. And then the TB was more for medically ill. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Kate?
Hi, it's Kate Benson. Alex and I were literally just having this side conversation. A lot of these institutions did purport at one time or another to specifically provide care for those two groups, so it does muddy the waters a little bit. And the reform schools were loaded with juveniles with disabilities, disproportionately so. But I agree with knocking off the sanatoria. You're correct. The tuberculosis hospitals typically stayed to their own purposes. But I think to Emily's point, we really need to figure out what our target is, because we could open up a huge can of worms and then talk about things like truant schools and hospital schools and other institutions that could sort of fit the bill, but don't really. And, unfortunately it becomes, where are we getting the biggest bang for our buck in understanding the history of this process, I guess.
Thank you, Kate. Vesper?
I think it raises a really good question. I mean, if you consider unsightly and beggar ordinances at the time, or ugly laws, houses for the poor, as well as psychiatric institutions and institutions for people with disabilities would be considered under the same umbrella, because those who were considered unsightly were both poor or disabled. So I think it's an important consideration when we talk about it. I would say our current charge really seems to be two, but I can see the overall applicability.
Thank you, Vesper. I will emphasize that the definitions are not clear underneath these different locations. So even how mental health conditions were diagnosed, the labels that were used. There were people who were in institutions for people with developmental disabilities who may not have had developmental disabilities. So there is not a very clean sorting of, if you are focused on people with mental health and developmental disabilities, they were exactly here and only here. That makes this work a little bit harder. And I think the likelihood of success of getting information about certain records, certain burial locations will differ depending on how much time has gone by, how much of a formal structure these locations had. So there's a lot more to look into here, but I appreciate all the comments to date. I think we can try to take that focus of population and see how it aligns with these, and come back to you all with the working group some suggestions on how we might move forward for this. We don't have to decide that right now. We're not going to stop our work until we figure that out. We're going to keep going, but just know that we need to clarify this at a certain point going forward. Thank you. Next slide, Pete, please. All right, so next I'd like to share with you more about what we've learned about records and the request process. Next slide. So we have observed there's many different types of records. So there's medical records that contain health information about people who were served by institutions. These are generally protected by laws. There's federal laws, there's Massachusetts laws, and these laws limit access to recent records of people, especially who were receiving services. Those laws may be a little bit different for records that are much older. And we also need to understand that there's a portion of times when those laws are followed and a portion of times where perhaps they're not. So we'll look more into that. There's also information that we're calling registration information. This might be a list of people who lived at certain locations. It may have things like their the date they came to the institution, how old they were, things about their family. So not necessarily health information, but other information that would record who lived there and at what times. Sometimes these records have been returned to people and their families when institutions have closed. Sometimes they have not. And in some cases, it's not clear that those records are still available. We'll talk more about that. There's also what we're calling business records and reports. So this is information about the institution, maps of the facilities, sometimes including burial grounds, numbers of people that were there at a given time or who may have left the institution or who have died, and the types of services the institution provided. Next slide, please. Where these records are now varies. There are many collections at both public and private universities, and we have some more details on those. They are in state and city archives. And how you access those records also varies. So sometimes there's restrictions on the records that are not always the same. For patient records, medical privacy laws usually restrict the record for about 75 to 80 years after the file was created. So usually after an adult's lifetime. But some records exist in libraries where a librarian or archivist can choose a restriction that's even greater than that. And in many cases they do. So it's at least 75 to 80 years, but it might be longer based on how that library has set up their rules. And there's not that we could find consistent guidance to libraries or archives that it should be this. It's a sort of a case-by-case decision. And who gets access to records in archives can also be made on an individualized basis. I see some hands raised. Kate?
Hi, it's Kate Benson again. Sorry, taking up a lot of airspace today. Alex and I have also identified that a lot of these records are held in private collections because they have been either scoured from institutions or they have been purchased off of eBay. There are also local historical societies that hold some of these collections. My nonprofit, the Belchertown State School Friends Association, holds some records. So there are some less regulated groups that also hold a lot of patient records, just so everyone's aware that that's out there as well.
Thank you. Connor?
Yeah, hi, this is Connor Snow. Thought I'd want to provide a little bit of just contextual background being at the State Archives. So we do have various permanent non-active records from various institutions, including almost all of the institutions that you had on your previous slide. Hospitals, different institutions like Fernald. We are subject to the public records law, which is under the Secretary's office, and this public records law restricts medical and mental health information indefinitely. There is no sunset law. There's no 75 to 80 years. It is forever, no matter how old they are. We cannot make these records accessible without a court order. If that happens, so providing access to records does happen, someone who would like to request the records will have to obtain a court order granting them to be the temporary administrator of an estate. And then we would then make these records available, not through ourselves, but through a contact DDS. DDS would then make the records available. So there are steps and processes, but it is always a headache. It's always a lot of hurdles to get through. It's not something that archives want to do because we want to make records accessible, especially for people who have been in these institutions. And to be able to say, no, you can't look at them is heartbreaking. And so I just kind of wanted to give some background on that. And yeah, I guess this is just one comment I had about the article that was released from the Boston Globe. The article did state in one section that the State Archives had mentioned that many of the records that were found in the buildings at Fernald were all of the case files, and that the State Archives does not have those, and that they only have the administrative records of Fernald. We do have about 186 boxes of patient case files, so that is not the only thing that we have here. And so, yeah, I just wanted to provide some background on how the archives handles these records when they're requested for access. But yeah, unfortunately, there is no sunset law in Massachusetts, and these records are permanently sealed by statute.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about gathering that level of detail as well in some of our next steps. So I appreciate that context. Next slide, please. So we have some additional information here about some of the laws that restrict the rights, as Connor was mentioning. Sometimes there are ways to get the records. These could be by people who are put in charge of the estate, which is the money or property someone had when they died. Lawyers who have permission from the person if they're still alive or their estate, and court ordered, as Connor was saying, times when information can be shared. There's often fees. You have to procure legal services. You might have to pay a lawyer. Sometimes that's a few $1,000s to help get the records if things go fairly smoothly. Next slide, please. So as for this part of the discussion, I've put in bold blue, for those of you who are reading the screen, the questions we want you to think about. We don't need to fully answer these today, but these are things for us to discuss going forward. So we will need to figure out with you, when we talk about records, what type of records do you want to include? We also will be planning to talk to more people like Connor and Kate and Alex and others who have been working on this for quite a while. So we want to learn more about where records are kept and start to record that for you, to know more about which of the records exist and which are missing. And we want to get some experiences of what it has been like to try to get the records from people who have tried. And so we want to speak to people who work at libraries and archives, people who have studied these records, and that may include the historical groups that Kate was mentioning, or who may have been in charge of the records when an institution was closed or during the time it was open. And so we are also looking for suggestions about who else you think we should talk to. And it doesn't have to be a name per se. It could be, this type of person or a person who had this type of role. And whether there are other steps you'd like us to take for this particular set of goals about records. So I'll open it up to some comments to see if anyone wants to share some thoughts. And raising hands works well. So if you're able to do that, please go ahead and do that. Alex?
Hi, this is Alex Green. One group that just comes to mind are like local historical societies. I know like the Waltham one has stuff, and that may just be on your list as part of archives, but that came to mind. I don't know about any others offhand, but that's one at least.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about what we've found for goals 3 and 4 related to burial locations. Next step, or next slide, thank you. So we have found that there are cemeteries on the grounds of former state institutions. Some of these are still owned by the state of Massachusetts. So we have gotten the list of cemeteries that Massachusetts still owns. And so we are able to see that there are cemeteries from institutions for people with developmental disabilities, and institutions for state hospitals that are still listed as property sites owned by the state of Massachusetts. We have learned that there are some people who died in institutions that were buried in what are called kind of pauper cemeteries or local parish cemeteries. These may not have had individual markers or locations. They may not have had individual, kind of coffins. And so it may be challenging to identify who's buried there and exactly where they're buried. We have observed also that many of the cemeteries may not have marked graves. Where there are markers, they may only show either an identification number or a code as to whether people were of a certain religion, like Catholic or Protestant. But to know who was buried there, you would need the key to unlock what does that code mean and what was that person's name, and more information about them. So there's much more to dig into here, but we are finding many different types of circumstances where people are buried. Next slide, please. In some cases, the records of who is buried where have been lost, and we know that, it has been reported that for the Northampton sites in Foxborough that those records are no longer available. Sometimes the burial records are held by a state agency. They may or may not be available to the public upon request. And for some cemeteries, it's not clear how many former residents or people who lived in institutions are actually buried there. So we don't know the total counts of the people who were buried. Next slide, please. So we are aware of some folks in the state who have done some more work related to this, particularly historical societies, and some of your commission members. But we will need to talk more about who else we should be talking to about these sites and which cemeteries are in scope. And I think that question relates back to which institutions are in scope for you. I will open it up to see if people have questions or comments. I think Anne has her hand raised. I'm wondering if there's staff who can support. I see Anne is the name on the screen. Can we hear more?
Hi, are you, sorry. Brenda's just animated, just listening. No question at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to make sure.
I appreciate it.
All right. All right, let's move on to the next slide, please.
My apologies. One moment.
So as we're waiting for the slide, the next goal we'll talk about is related to the memorials. And we've spent some time looking at what other locations have done. So there are some memorials, and you can go to the next slide, please, that exist in Massachusetts. So those include the Wrentham State Schools Memorial Walk and Friends of Belchertown State School. There are cemetery restoration projects as well, and these can be run by different groups. Sometimes it's people who had lived at the institutions or family members or disability advocates or community members. Next slide, please. And we also looked at other states. So many other states have created some different types of memorials. Some of them have standing memorials that are a physical site that you can visit. Some of them hold anniversary events like Vermont. Some of them have an actual museum that you can go and visit. And so there's a whole different set of types of things you can do for remembrance. And we will share more about these projects with the working group.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. So as we've looked at the process to create these different things, we have pulled out some lessons learned. The first is that many of these projects, especially to build a physical memorial or a museum, take time and often many years and lots of planning. So this is, unless it's an event that could be more easily planned, it's not going to happen very quickly. It also needs a really good action plan that identifies the goals and questions like who will be involved, how are they going to be organized, what do we want to develop, and who's going to do that? Does it require an architect or a planner? And who's going to build it? Do we need permits? Do we need a site? How do we pay for it? And if it's something that goes on over time or needs maintenance, how do we pay for that? So there are a lot of questions to be both formed and answered here. And this will be what we take to the working group to start to consider and to come back to the commission with ideas and opportunities for decisions. Next slide, please. And so within this working group, we're going to review what other states have done in our state, start drafting what we're going to call a planning document. This is kind of a roadmap as to how you get to where you want to go. So not yet a set of plans for what it is you want to build, but kind of a plan to plan where we have to take what was in that prior slide and add some more details to it and understand all the different decision points that you need to make in order to move forward to have, whether it's an event or a memorial or a museum or whatever it is you want to form. And so if there are ideas that you have about people who we should talk to next for this goal, we're happy to hear some recommendations from you all today. Alex?
Hi, this is Alex Green. What I can share just briefly is from the drafting of the bill that led to the creation of the commission, just so you know what some of the stakeholders then, including the political folks who were involved, had sort of envisioned in recommending this portion of the statute, which was I think there was a widely held sense that some kind of museum was a good idea, that memorialization in general was a good idea, that thinking very big and expansively was an important aspect of this, that the state should be a central party to owning that responsibility because these were public institutions and our charge is to look into those public institutions, and that the composition of the commission, which includes people who currently or formerly lived in state-run facilities, that those folks should have a central voice in saying what they would like to see above all else, even if that meant saying we don't want a museum, we want something else. So those were some of the big thoughts that went in early on, and I hope that's just helpful for broad thinking.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you sharing that thinking, and certainly this will be the commission's decision for going forward. Kate?
Hi, it's Kate Benson. The Belchertown State School Friends have worked for over 13 years to try to put a museum at the former state school. The process has been maddening, frustrating, and very difficult. But I'm looking forward to sharing that process with everyone and what success has looked like for us so far, and getting everyone here, especially getting everyone's thoughts and opinions and directions as far as what we'd like to see in a museum, memorial, the BSS campus is going to be a mix of all of that. So I'm really excited about this particular goal because I think it's going to go nicely hand in hand with what we're already starting to do, and how we can kind of take this even further. So I really appreciate that that this is going to be a part of this conversation.
Thank you, Kate, and certainly your experience and the friends' experience would be part of what we'd want to tap into to understand what you've learned already from a very long 13 years of work, it sounds like. Very good. Other comments on this topic? Okay. Great. Let's see. Next slide, please. Okay, so we will email you all as commissioner members to allow you to sign up for the working groups, and that includes for the letter of inquiry. So you're welcome to reach out to us at this email address, but don't feel like you need to take the first step. You are going to get a note from us that specifies the working groups and give you a chance to sign up. But you're welcome to contact us at any point if you have further thoughts from today. You will get a copy of this presentation, so you have these details, and this will all be available to you. And we look forward to working with you all more closely and the next steps on this. So I think next slide is, I think, just questions. So I'll turn it over to Matt.
Well, thank you, Emily. This is Matt Black. So just to wrap up, so, what Emily said, she'll be email or see you email in, and make sure to have the new email in your address book. That way it doesn't go to spam. I know sometimes I have to with my emails address. So yeah. So if there's no other items like to discuss, do we have motion to join, or is someone want to talk about something else right now?
This is Mary Mahan McCauley. I just want to thank Emily. That was a wonderful presentation. I feel really good about this meeting, and I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mary. Do I have a second?
This is Alex Green. I second.
Thank you, Alex. So I'll do a roll call vote to adjourn the meeting. Elise, I believe, just left. Kate,
Yes.
thank you. Reggie,
You can talk now.
Thank you. Thank you for this meeting. Thank you for everything you do. Alex, I hope you have that book out so we could show the book to the people that been in institutions. And we
Okay,
should-
publishing slow. Sorry, Reggie.
very good. Take your time, because there's probably a lot to add to it. So thank you guys for everything.
thank you, Reggie. Yes, motion to adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Reggie. Ian,
Yes.
thank you, Ian. Alex, I won't skip you this time.
Thanks.
Miss Kelly,
Yes,
as I can't say your first name.
it's okay. I like being called Miss Kelly. It's totally
yeah.
fine.
Andrew,
Yes.
thank you. Mary,
Yes.
thank you. Rasper,
Yes.
thank you. Brenda left. Connor,
Yes.
thank you. Mary Lewis is not here. Evelyn's not here. Yes votes for each to join the meeting. Well, thank you. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everyone. And hopefully see you. See you in a couple months. Bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Take
night,
care.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Have a nice
Thank you,
evening,
Emily.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Was it?